expected for fiscal 2017. Parent company DineEquity called 2017 a transitional year for Applebee's as the company tries to turn around. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands is home to some of the best bargain shopping in the region. Citywear, Style for Less, and Dollar Tree, to name just a few. Friendly shop owners and staff are waiting for you to stop in for the many specials and bargains they're excited to share. The Tri-City Shopping Center is located just off I-10 between Alabama and the Tennessee exits in Redlands. Make it your home for all your shopping needs, and you'll know why the Tri-City Center is called the Mall with a Heart.
There's a new furniture store in town, DC Furniture in the Tri-City Center. What's so grand about DC Furniture? Well, they've got a wide selection and discounts up to 70% off retail. But the best part is they carry furniture for your home, not for some magazine photo. Furniture you can live with. That's what you get at DC Furniture, just off the Alabama exit of Interstate 10 on Industrial Parkway in Redlands. You'll feel at home at DC Furniture.
Wet n Wild Palm Springs is the one where you get big water park fun barefootin'. In the sun barefootin'. Flow rider barefootin'. Wet n Wild barefootin'.
Yeah, get unlimited barefootin' fun with a season pass. Buy now, get free parking. A free visit for a friend. Huge in-park discounts. Hurry to get free parking and more. Buy online or at Food for Less for just $64.99 today.
Wet n Wild barefootin'.
Park now open.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
Hey everyone, this is the Flip Flop Investor Show, and I'm your host, Todd Bayer. With me today, I have a very special guest, Alex Bejenaru from Premier Pacific Properties. How are we doing, Alex?
Great, man. Great.
Awesome, man. For those of you that don't know, this is the Flip Flop Investor Show. We talk about real estate investing here in Southern California, as well as anywhere, really. But today, we're going to focus on Southern California because that's where Alex does most of his business. And so do we. So we're going to focus on Southern California. And Alex, before we jump too much into it, tell us a little bit about what Premier Pacific Properties does.
Well, what we do is we purchase homes directly from motivated sellers, using many different methods. Like most others, we get the home, we fix them up, we stuff them back on the market, sell them via retail.
Okay, so you guys are typically buying low and selling high. I mean,
pretty much, yeah. We don't wholesale anything. We flip everything we buy. Obviously, sometimes we'll do more work than times than others, but it's strictly what we do.
And flipping's sexy. Most people like the idea of flipping. Right. When you talk about real estate investing, and I know there's a ton of ways to invest in real estate, right. Flipping being really just one of them. And there's so many different ways to flip property too.
Right.
And so, you guys are kind of in a more traditional sort of flipping method where you're buying a property, renovating it, and selling it.
Right.
Some people, like you said before, a wholesale property where they're, putting a property under contract and then they're ending up flipping the contract onto somebody else, right. Which a lot of people tend to do. I know a lot of people do that in the beginning. Right. Did you ever get started doing any wholesaling? Or
I didn't do too much of it. I just my only start was pretty much doing a kind of an in-house flip, where you kind of get the house you live in, you stay in it for 2-3 years, and you get a nice little pop in the market, and all of a sudden you got a bunch of money to play with.
Yeah, exactly. So you actually, when you do that, would you actually sell your house and then move to another one when you buy the next property?
That's exactly what we did.
Man, were you doing this with like your wife or?
Yeah, it took my wife some time to kind of catch on to it, but yeah, we had a house in Norco. We bought it, pretty low in 2011, which, was kind of almost at the bottom.
Yeah.
Sold it in 2014, which was right after things were beginning to ramp up quite dramatically. We did a lot of work to the house.
Yep.
And it was kind of a punch in the face to, wow, we maybe have an opportunity here to do something bigger.
Yeah. So what were you doing at that time prior to investing in real estate that got you into the real estate game?
I've been in the real estate game for about 14 years total.
Okay.
At that time, I was a loan officer. I was a lender. really, really high producing lender, doing close to 120 million a year in loan volume. Had a team under me.
You were doing like traditional homeowner type
Traditional,
stuff.
Yeah, cookie cutter, conventional loans, FHA loans, VA loans, all that good stuff with a couple big banks at the time. And was doing really good, but working really long hours, coming home, ripping your hair out, dealing with processors, underwriters, things like that of the sort, not to mention with generally corporate America.
Sure. You still got quite a bit of your hair for, ripping so much of it out.
Man, good thing the camera's not in the back.
Oh, right? Yeah, there you go. Well, there's a reflection in the window.
We did really good as a lender for a long period of time. But I think what we did with that house was really kind of a big eye opener and kind of what the potential, because I found myself working so hard to make a certain level of income as a lender. At that time we had a young baby, and all the time, you're devoted to work, and you kind of miss some of the good times. It was cool. It was kind of a big eye opener for us.
Yeah. So you're doing loans, but then what was it that kind of, so you had this house, you saw that you were growing in equity, and you thought, I'm sure this wasn't the first time investing in real estate had entered your mind.
No, it was actually something we were looking to do. It was, at that time I was, okay, we need a lot of money to do this.
Yeah.
And I was making a lot of money at the time, but it got to a point as a lender, you have a certain level of comfort and a certain level of stability, which, you kind of give away the bigger dream to have stability. But once you saw how, I don't want to say easily it's done, but how the opportunity could be right there in front of you. It's just a matter of grabbing it and capitalizing on it. Yeah.
So you have a unique way into the business because you already were in real estate doing loans, which you learn a lot about real estate doing loans because you're dealing with escrow companies constantly. You're dealing with the agents, you're dealing with buyers and sellers. Right. So you really do get a lot of information about it. Plus you probably get a good feel for valuation.
100%.
Because I don't know if you would ever evaluate your own loans when they came in before you'd get the appraisal. I don't know if you ever did it that way or not.
No, we did, but we also hit a lot of time, especially after the crash, where we were dealing with a lot of investor loans. So we were having to do 2 appraisals, or appraisals were coming in low, and then we would have to contest it. So then I would have to pull some of my own comps, or I'd have to find out what the investors did to the properties to get that extra value out of it. So that was a very common thing, especially in 2009, 2010.
Oh, yeah.
I was getting a lot of those investor, flip loans.
Yeah, and that was, it was funny because back in 2009, for those of you that don't remember, the market was so low, and people didn't really know that was the bottom at that point, but it could have gone much lower. Fortunately, it didn't, but they, the loans at that time were not getting approved because of what you just said. Investors were doing these deals, and the homeowners buying them were not the typical buyer at that time. Most buyers were institutional buyers. They were buying REOs, short sales, stuff like that. So the only comps that were available at that time were the REOs and the short sales, which were way below market value. And here you have these investor properties, which are now at a good level, and are probably really what the market value was, and they weren't selling, or they were having a hard time selling because couldn't get the loans approved on the backside.
Right, and then you had appraisers also having a dock value. At that time, they had to knock 10% off because of the declining market. They had to put that right on their appraisal forms. So there were many factors that were just making it. I mean, almost every loan we were doing, values were coming in lower, prices had to get renegotiated, or we had to contest the value, we had to order second appraisals, many FHA and government products, things like that. So
so tough time, but you seem to weather the storm all right.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I got into that line of work when a lot of people were getting out of it.
Yeah.
In 2006, everybody was kind of getting out of lending, and I was like, well, let me try it out. Let me get in there. And then I guess I hit a good bump because it did really good for me.
Yeah, well, that's great. Okay, so let's talk about investing. So you're doing these homes. You bought your home in Norco. You sold it in 2014 at a nice little profit, I'm sure, because during 2011, 2014, I can imagine there's probably a pretty good amount of equity you built up. So what'd you do? You took that money and bought a smaller place, or did you rent something? How'd you?
Yeah. So what happened was we did probably what a lot of people probably wouldn't do, but like I said, I thank my wife for sticking with me. We decided in 2013 we were going to sell the house.
Okay.
And then we decided to go rent. So we rented our house. We took out all the money in equity, put it together with a lot of money I'd made, and just kind of socking away a little bit as a lender because we were kind of living within the means. We had a new kid, so I wasn't spending lavishly or anything.
Right. Yeah, I know you don't have the opportunity to.
Right. And and right away, right in late 2013, I decided to go ahead and start the business before we closed on the house because I had an idea what we were going to get for it. So we started the business up in late 2013. Trying to kind of get acquainted with how things go and all of that, and kind of deciding how we wanted to go. We were going to go more rental, more flip. We just kind of naturally, gravitated towards the flip side of things. We rented our house, used all the money, and we literally went all in, with everything.
Yeah, so you guys took a pretty bold step, but I mean, you had quite a bit of knowledge going into it to do that. I know I've met people that are new into the business. They've never worked in real estate. They work at a factory or, they do something in a warehouse and they quit their job and they say, I'm going to become a real estate investor. I got 3 months of savings and I'm going to go for it.
Right.
And I'm like, I wish you the best of luck, man, but I got nothing but no faith in that happening.
Right. Right. It's difficult because it takes sometimes one or two bad things to happen, which is almost inevitable in the beginning, and it causes you to shut your doors.
Yeah, and for them, I mean, the biggest issue that most people face is finding deals, and they couldn't find any deals. So if you can't find deals, you can't invest in real estate. Right. That's just the unfortunate thing that happens. So they came asking for a loan, and it's like, I don't do loans for people that, for people that want to become a real estate investor. I'm sorry, that's not a very savvy thing to invest in.
Yeah, especially at that time, when you're looking at 2009, 2010. So yeah,
definitely. So you basically move on. So you're renting a house, you're buying new property. So are you sticking around the Norco area, or are you looking to buy more stuff out there at that time?
So we rented. We moved to Yorba Linda. So at that time, we rented out there. Our first flip I bought was from a wholesaler. Never forget it. It was the first one we got in early 2014 in Costa Mesa. Okay. And I lost about 15 grand on it.
Wow.
And I think we were touching earlier about it, how sometimes the best education is just to kind of stick your head in and accept the fact that you might take a loss out of it.
Yeah. But you're going to learn so much more because did you have a construction background or anything prior to?
I mean, little from doing your own stuff,
fixing a cabinet and whatnot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did you actually manage the whole rehab project yourself?
No, I hired a contractor, general contractor. I kind of tried to do the traditional things that I just figured had to be done. We found the house through a wholesaler, so I go on a lot of the forums, I go to a lot of the RIAs, the investment clubs, things like that, to just kind of pick what you can. And like I said, I was the type a deal came and I got it and I bought it right away, and it seemed like it was a winner when you first get it.
Yep.
And then literally problems hit a week later, and just one after another. And it was a flip we kept for 6 months and actually 7 months, and should have been done with sooner. But man, I think everything that bad could happen did. Yeah.
So, I like talking about problems a little bit because, I mean, they call it the Flip Flop Investor Show because we talk about flips, we talk about flops. So this
was a flop. Oh, yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about some of the problems that came up because a lot of people don't know the things that can come up in a deal. So, what was the first problem you sort of ran into that property?
First one, I mean, so we hired a good general contractor, made sure he was licensed, made sure, we looked at one of his projects he was doing, so I kind of got a chance to see what was going on. Very first thing, I make the mistake of trying to bypass some of the permits. Okay. And especially when it came to a roof. Yeah. So, I'm thinking, okay, we'll save a few grand. Typically, I think investors try to cut corners here and there. So
try to avoid the roofing permit. Yep, that's a tough one. That one always gets caught.
Always gets caught. Yeah. So this one, they had a roof put on. There was another layer put on. And I think literally 2 days later, we had a red tag put on our door. All the workers were kicked out.
Yep.
Told us I had to literally take down the whole roof and rebuild the whole roof because the inspector didn't see it. Yeah.
So did you actually did that? You actually took the whole thing down. Wow. Okay. So that's a pretty costly thing.
Yeah, it was a very costly thing. And it was done right the first time and it was fine, but we had to take what was put up down completely. It was done. Yeah. It had been done for a few days.
So for the cost of a permit, I mean, looking back and in hindsight.
Right. Like $1,500.
Yeah. $1,500 for a permit to do the roof would have been well worth it than having to do it twice. Because do you remember how much you spent on the roof?
$9,000, I think.
Each time?
Yeah, each time.
Yes.
Actually, the second one was a little bit more because then, they were a lot more particular about little things on there. And the inspector kind of had it out for me at the time because we knew we were trying to, sneak around.
Well, that roofer probably loves you.
Oh, yeah. He loved it.
Two roofs, one house.
Score, man, right?
Okay, so that's a problem. That sucks. That's going to cost you. more problems. What else came up?
Man, the contractor was, and I didn't notice that until later on at the time, was going through a lot of issues within his own business. So I was noticing many times I was going out to the properties, nobody was working there. I mean, periods of a week and a half, 2 weeks, nobody was out there whatsoever. So yeah, going out there, nothing's being done. I'm calling the contractor. Contractor's coming up with every list he can, every item he can in the book as to why he couldn't be there, why he couldn't show up, why, we have this and this, this is on back order, this door's on back order, that, it's whatever he finds at Home Depot. Yeah. Right? I don't care what kind of door, just put something in.
Yeah, put a door in.
Right. So yeah, that was another big thing, and it ended up taking a job that should have been 45 days. I mean, ended up taking him over 4 months to do.
Wow.
So just the carrying costs, because we had, hard money at the time.
Okay.
The carrying costs were building up, plus we had a little issues with the permits, and inspector now coming up to us saying, oh, well, was this pipe done to code, and this and this, and
sure.
Can we find out there were a lot of things he was doing that weren't really done up to snuff.
Okay.
So again, because we were trying to cut corners in the beginning, I learned very quickly that's probably not the best thing to do.
So did you have to pull a rehab permit then?
Yep, full permit for everything.
Yeah, so you got the permit, now you have an inspector coming out for various things. And I don't know how deep you went into the house. Did you go down to like rough electrical, rough plumbing, anything like that?
Yeah, we did. We took out a couple retaining walls that were there. Yeah, we blew out a couple of the walls in that whole house. I mean, restructured a master bath in there and a closet to give a larger master suite. I mean, yeah, we did. We were a little over $100,000 rehab.
Okay, so that's a full remodel right there. Yeah. Okay, so you let's talk about hard money for a second, because you mentioned it. Yeah. So a lot of people want to know how they can finance and buy these things, and they think they can just go to their local bank and they can go get a loan, and up and going they are. Right. But I think you and I both know that banks don't lend on distressed property. So
right. If you know of any, let me know.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to get those great rates. Right?
Exactly.
They're not around right now. Actually, I just got a magazine the other day that says subprime lending's coming back. So I don't know. We're going to look more into this.
Let's hope.
Yeah, because I know for investors, it's great.
Yeah, good stuff for us.
But so you went through a hard money lender, which typically is going to be easier to qualify for.
Asset-based.
They're not basing it entirely on your credit score, although most of them do kind of pull credit scores now. They also, some of them won't get financials. I don't know who you used at that time. Did they pull financials and tax returns?
No, they didn't go into that. Again, it was mostly asset-based. They looked at the deal themselves, at the deal itself. They said, based on their own analytics, this is the max we're going to loan you. They did ask for credit reports, to make sure that I didn't have $200,000 in IRS liens or something, something else that could possibly take the house, or something against the business itself.
Very good idea.
To kind of protect themselves. So yeah, they did that. They did the credit. They asked for bank statements to make sure that I had money to even rehab the house.
Okay. Because that's a big deal. If you're not borrowing 100% of the project, then they're going to want to make sure you have enough money to finish it, because that's what they're making the loan based upon, is the completed house, not the house that it is right now.
Right. And they were also very conservative. They knew it was one of my first ones. I didn't have a whole track record of houses to show them.
Right.
So yeah, they were able to only give me a certain percentage of the purchase price. And they didn't want to do a holdback or anything for the rehab. They instead gave me, I think it was like 70% of purchase price, 75% of purchase price. So
2014, that was pretty common.
Yeah, it was a $580 purchase price, so it stung a little.
Oh yeah.
That plus then you got the rehab cost on top of that.
Sure.
You're trying to learn kind of as you go as well what to expect.
Yeah. And so, do you still use hard money now with your purchasing?
Yeah, we do use private money, a lot of private money with most of what we're doing.
Okay.
Right now, coupled up with still our own cash. We are using some other outside sourcing as well, some other outside capital.
Okay.
Because right now we're trying to really expand quite dramatically. We've kind of hit a good kind of mode here for marketing and so on. So now it's just a matter of we need more money to put more gas in the fire.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. And you mentioned marketing. So a lot of people want to know how to market a business like this. And I know a lot of people mail. We don't. We've never actually done a single piece of mail, but some people do. So,
I actually just stopped mail about 3 months ago. When I was doing upwards of close to $15,000 a month, just in Southern California, LA, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino County. We were doing close to 15,000, sometimes even going close to 20. It struck me because I think we stopped in April. We looked at how many deals we'd gotten throughout the year, and I'd probably spent, I'd probably sent out combined 70,000 mail pieces year to date up until April.
Yeah.
Hadn't bought one house.
Not through any of those mailers.
Not through a single. And I'm talking about I had strong lists, not the typical absentee owners.
Yeah.
I mean, I had strong foreclosure lists, NODs, NTSs.
Yeah.
Divorce lists. I mean, you know, the real where you think you'd find a motivated seller.
Right. And
nothing.
Motivation doesn't always translate into willing to sell, because you probably met up with a lot of denial.
What we were finding is my purchasing manager would go to a lot of these appointments, and he would see a stack of mailers on somebody's coffee table or on somebody's kitchen table.
Yep.
And that was a kind of a big eye opener as well. We're like, okay, maybe our opportunity's not here when he's got about 15 other letters that he's just waiting to call, and appointments are one after another that he has out there.
Yeah, exactly. And they do. They have all that competition. So mailers, you go out and you send all these mailers out, and it feels like you're really trying to convince these people to sell their home, because they're not ready to sell. They got into this situation they're in, and selling their home wasn't really something that had crossed their mind.
And a lot of times, I think a lot of these sellers have been procrastinating is the reason why they were in this predicament to begin with.
Yeah.
So to see them procrastinating more and more, and like you were saying, not wanting to sell at this point, or hasn't even crossed their mind, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, now we got to do it, and now they need to act quick.
I think a lot of people have heard, like, they have that cousin or their friend that stayed in their home for 3 years through a foreclosure, and they didn't have to pay a single payment, and they're thinking, I'm just going to do that, I'm going to ride this out, and, but the banks have gotten a lot better in their foreclosure process, so and they're not holding them like that anymore.
Yeah, and you see sometimes people trying to file for BKs to kick the can down the road a little bit, but it used to buy them a year or two a few years back. Right now it just buys them a few months, and then they're back around when we're following up with them. They're like, I need to get out of here, my date's in 3 weeks, I'm going to take my house now. Whatever.
So that's obviously an issue. That's hard to do. I know what we do for our deals mostly is going through the MLS, but that's something that we're able to do. We have a lot of experience. We have a lot of people that we know. So MLS is where we get all of our deals. That's not common though. No. And a lot of people, they tell me, I've tried the MLS. I don't know how you're getting deals on there. And it's like, that's all we've ever done. So that's all we know. So people always want to know what other marketing strategies there are. And there's door knocking. There's a lot of different stuff. Do you want to share it all what you guys do? Or
I mean, in a nutshell, the thing that has been ironclad for us has been our website.
Yep.
Everything we're getting right now is through the website. Yep. We're putting a boatload of money in pay-per-click. We're putting a boatload of money in SEO that we've been doing for the last couple of years. And that thing is ranking among some of the top in every major area in Southern California.
That's great.
So we get leads literally coming to us. And that's kind of the different thing. For a while we had a call center that was taking a lot of these incoming calls from mailers, and a lot of these calls were just kind of a waste. They were get me off your list. They were, but all of a sudden now you're getting incoming leads, leads that are looking for us.
Right.
So they're easier to get a hold of once they're giving us the full gamut of information that we ask for in the questionnaire, and they're ready to talk to us. They're ready to get an offer. Now, some are more realistic than others.
Sure.
Our conversion rates are far in multiples over what we were in direct mail.
Yeah, and I'm sure the cost is much less compared to mailers.
Yeah, the per acquisition cost is definitely much less. It's still challenging because the web space is getting a little crowded too right now. There's a lot of people doing the pay-per-click right now, so a lot of the bids are creeping up higher and higher on some of the bigger keywords.
Yeah. On the pay-per-click stuff. Yeah.
Right. And
so if you pay for advertising online through Google AdWords or something like that, you're gonna be paying a certain amount of money just for it to. So every time somebody clicks on that link on the right hand side of Google,
every time
in the search results, if somebody clicks on that for some search words like "sell my house" or something like that, would be probably like $15 or something.
I mean, for ones like We Buy Houses, whatever city, almost 60.
Wow, $60 a click.
A click. So when you have just an X amount of budget of whatever, $400 or $500 a day, I mean, there goes, almost a big part of your budget again, just because that one click of the person who's maybe just curious, and doesn't always pan out like that. So
so don't click those ads if you don't intend to do anything with them.
right.
Because that's expensive. I mean, I haven't done pay-per-click advertising in a while, so it's that to me is. And I've never done it for real estate, so that like $60, that's amazing. I can't believe people are paying that.
It is, and it's a lot of it is there's a whole other method to that madness as far as what keywords do you use, which ones do you emphasize, because if you just go all in one keyword, you're going to spend $60. You're going to get 5, 6, 7, 8 leads out of it, depending on what your budget is monthly. And then $500 a month, that's $15,000 a month just in pay-per-click advertising.
So as long as you're getting at least one deal a month, it should at least cover that bill.
Yeah, I don't even know if one deal a month is a lot to spend $15,000 on. So luckily we've been doing a lot better than that. It's just a matter of cutting down the cost per conversion of what we're getting a lead in for. And how quickly we're converting them. So that's really the end game right there, because it's easy just to pour money in and have it just go to nothing.
Yeah, and we're not going to go into like the deep dark secrets of this, because that's obviously a trade secret for you guys, but and that's something that you guys have learned through trial and error.
Right.
This is not something you just figured out the magic bean to use every single time and it works. Right. It's
a lot of trial and error is probably, you nailed it. That's what it has been for a couple of years of, okay, this is not working. Okay, let's try this, or let's try this market, or it's a lot of it. And then not to mention SEO, which is one of the harder things, because you're pumping money into something that doesn't give you a return right now.
Right.
And in this market, it's not going to give you a return for 6, 7, 8, 9 months.
Yeah, and SEO is search engine optimization. Right. You're trying to get Google or Yahoo or MSN or whoever to put you at the top of the search results. So if somebody who's searching for sell my home in Costa Mesa, for example, you're hoping that Premier Pacific Properties is going to be the number1 search result that shows up, and hopefully it answers that person's burning question, which is how much can I sell my home for today?
Right.
And you're hoping they're going to click on that, which is free.
Right.
It's free for them to click on that. If it's a search result,
it's organic. It shows up there. It's on the front page. It's no different than the one that the guy who paid $50 to get that click for. It's literally the same thing.
But you might have to spend quite a bit of money in a web developer or somebody like that that's going to put together a good website that's optimized for search engines.
Right.
And then you constantly have to be updating your keywords, and you have to be constantly adding new content, things like that, to stay at the top of the list, because you'll eventually start slipping when somebody else gets, has a little bit better content or whatever.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is right now. It's becoming a lot more crowded. We're noticing when we're going on some of these appointments, we're noticing other competitors from other websites, and it's a lot of them. We're noticing some of the same people too, which is kind of funny to see. It's not like direct mail where it's just a random free for all. A guy who does a lot of business versus someone who does no business can have the same shot.
Of course.
Versus web. It's really, you can be on page 2 and not ever leave page 2 unless you do something with it.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of it too is, once you get them to the website, there's that call to action. You got to get them to do the next step.
Right.
Which is, okay, you've seen our website, you've checked out our team, you've checked out our our company, you've seen our office, all this stuff. Now we got to get you to the form to fill out that says, I'm interested in selling my house. So I'm sure that's been a difficult thing.
That has been a whole other science in and of itself, that it's been one of the biggest things I've been learning is, just how certain colors on a page or how certain questions are structured and things, could get somebody to fill out your form or to move on to the next. It's literally a whole new science just in that in and of itself.
Yeah, and I know like Amazon, for example, they've spent a lot of money on figuring out how to get people to, purchase with one click.
Right.
Like they want to try and make the checkout process as easy as possible so that it's not difficult for you to buy as much stuff as you want, So the same thing goes for our sort of business, is that we're trying to get as many people to fill out that form, and you can't ask too much. You're not like, what's your social security number? What's what is maiden name? You're trying to just get the basic information, but you need to get enough of it where you can prove that they're also interested, because you don't want to get a whole bunch of cold leads that they just kind of filled it out because they're curious. Oh, how much is my house worth? Give me my free credit report.
Exactly.
Like, you want to get a ton of information, but you can't get it all because you don't want to have them filling out stuff for a half hour. So what's been your sweet spot for questions, and how are you guys moving them through the process?
We usually start off with a more kind of toned down set of questions, some simple things. Give me the property address, bed, bath, and so on. Once they go through that, they go to a second set of questions where we're a little bit more in depth. We're trying to find basically motivation. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to dictate whether we're the best solution for them or whether a traditional real estate agent is a better solution.
Sure.
Depending whatever, if they're behind on their payments, they're behind on tax payments, they're going through a divorce, some kind of hardship, whatever the case may be. So we go through that. We try to find out what it is they're looking for out of the property. What are they trying to sell it for? So it just allows us to really screen it much better to know if, is this person just trying to see what he can get full retail for this house?
Yeah.
Or is this person really trying to get out of a bad situation for themselves.
And then on those deals, I mean, there's probably plenty of them you've gotten where this is just a normal house. There's nothing wrong with it. People just want to sell. You end up referring that off to a real estate agent and they take on the listing?
No, we do have a listing agent that my wife's a listing agent.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, so she lists everything we do.
Okay.
In the scenario that we have something that we call it wholetailing, where we'll buy it and then we'll just go around and just stuff it on the market. We won't really do any work to it or anything because the house is in decent shape. There's no need to rehab it. We can make a quicker buck off of it.
Yeah, sure, and make it in the form of commission rather than the form of profit on a value add of some kind.
Right, exactly right. So and we weigh out every single one of them. Majority of them have needed a lot of work. We just picked another one up, here recently that doesn't need a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
So we're just going to take it. We're just going to stuff it right on the market and list it right away.
Okay.
So
yeah, there's some people that are. And I'm sure you've dealt with this, and it's always funny to me, but I mean, people have lived in a home for 20 years, and they might have bought it new 20 years ago, but, here we are, that's in the late 90s, and styles have changed. Right. So the house might be great. It might still function perfectly fine. Cabinets are still great. Everything's fine. You might need to replace some of the carpet or paint the walls, but, people don't seem to understand that I got to rip out all those tile countertops you got, all that cherry oak or that blonde oak that you have in there. I got to rip all that out and put in new cabinets. Quartz countertops are going in there. Like I got to do a different rehab now.
And people a lot of times associate, they'll think their house is worth the one that has the new quartz countertops, the new everything that's been fully rehabbed.
Yeah.
And they'll think their house that has a standard oak and the 6-inch white tile and the regular chrome faucets that were standard with the builders. And they'll think, oh, well, all my stuff's brand new. It's in great shape. Yeah. Well, great shape doesn't necessarily going to get you value.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it is to an extent, but it's not. People want a lot of things. I found homes that are done, things that are turnkey. I mean, they want that model home, perception when they walk into a house. They just want to be wowed.
Exactly. Yeah, and I can't tell how many people they have wallpaper up, and I'm like, that wallpaper's got to come down, right? Because 90% of people don't like wallpaper, and the other 10% don't like their wallpaper. So you got to get rid of all that wallpaper. We had wallpaper in this office actually when we first got it. We had to tear that out
and a lot of people don't even realize how much it costs to take down wallpaper.
I know.
I think you just peel it off like a sticker, and I'm like, not all the time.
Yeah.
Many times, no way.
Yeah, and you'd think sometimes because it's been up there for so long, it'll be easier to pull off, but in some cases it's the opposite. It's harder to get it off.
Way harder to get off. I mean, it's in there so good that it's a whole other process.
Yeah, especially if the people were smokers for some reason, because you get there's like a tar on the on the walls or something that's
and the smell just sticks there. It doesn't go anywhere.
Oh God. Yeah. Yep. I know that smell.
Not a good smell.
So we're doing search engine optimization. We're doing pay-per-click ads. Are you guys doing anything that's sort of outreach, like you're going out and finding leads that way?
Right. So what we're doing right now is going to start doing a lot more door-to-door marketing. So we have target houses that we've put together, ones that we may know are vacant, ones may know that be in foreclosure or whatnot, and we're actually putting together a sales team who's actually going to be canvassing some of these properties that we're trying to target.
Yeah,
ones that we know people have motivation. We know there's equity in the house. We know that they need to sell. And it's just a matter of convincing them versus some other route.
Right.
So, we just made our first hire. He'll be starting that this week. So, and then from there, probably bringing in more people just to start canvassing.
Oh, glad we got you in now before you're going to get crazy busy because
right?
Yeah, things are going to get crazy for you guys pretty soon.
I hope so.
Okay, so you got... Okay, so we're doing marketing that way. You mentioned going to RIAs, and this is a big deal for us also because we have a RIA ourselves. But when did you start going to the real estate investment clubs?
From the very get-go. I think it was one of the,
Even back when you were doing traditional loans?
No, when I was doing traditional loans, as in 2013 when we decided that we were going to go down this route, I started going to a few RIAs just to kind of start to educate myself. There were a lot of speakers, that I'd gotten to see and learn from. Bruce Norris being one of them that was, kind of a big... He was big eye opener again for me, as far as being able to determine what market we're in and just being a smart investor.
Yeah.
Because I always took the approach, I'm not going to be one of those idiots that just goes in and you've got a lot of money at stake here.
Of course, yeah.
So I wanted to try to also be as smart as I could.
That's always a good idea.
Right. So, and that was more or less to educate it and also understand that I had to just do it. where I think a lot of people go to these RIAs and they're just, we call them seminar junkies. They just go to these things. They never really do anything. They just show up to call themselves investors and never really do anything about it.
Yeah.
I pretty much the opposite. I think I bought my first flip before I started even going to RIAs. But, we went there and we were getting our first flip and just kind of learning back and forth.
It's the people that go and I don't have the magic wand that I can just wave and make these people investors. I wish I could, but that's the unfortunate thing is a lot of people that come, there's probably a good, even at our club, probably 40% of the people that show up every single month it's their first time coming, and they want to invest in real estate. They've probably seen the shows on TV. They might have even heard some radio shows or something on there, but they don't know what to do. Like they come and there's so much that goes into real estate investing, and it seems so easy on TV.
It's a 30-minute TV show, right? That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, the deal was already there. Like the show started because they already had the deal. It must be that easy, but it's not. And that's the hard thing. I want to convince it, or at least tell people that it's great. It's a really rewarding business to be in. It definitely gives you financial and time freedom. However, the flip side of it is it takes a while to get there.
Right.
The first several years that I was doing it, at least, I was working 16 to 20 hours a day, working constantly on this, and I was taking phone calls at 3 a.m. from people that, I don't know why people work so late and early in the morning. I don't get it. I've changed my hours since then. Like, I shut my phone off at 5, I don't even turn it on until 10. So, you get me through a narrow window now, but I'm sure you probably had those kinds of experiences too, right?
Yeah. Things obviously in the very beginning are very, stressful. Not to mention the time, but especially when you're working with your own money here, and you got a young family. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen. For me, it was a matter of when. Mm-hmm. So whether it took 16, 20-hour days, whether it took me going to every RIA that I could to try to get as knowledgeable. At the end of the day, I just also told myself, I'm just going to get into it and do it. Yeah, that's the only way you're going to learn. Because at the end, what you see on TV is not that easy. You just buy a house, and the hardest thing is what? I have $1,000 plumbing change order. That's the hardest thing. They make it seem like that's the biggest deal on TV. Right. To me, it's just do it. Don't even bother me with a phone call.
Yeah, exactly.
So you find out really quickly the focus, and at the end of the day, the focus is finding more. That's the hard thing. The easy part's fixing it. The easy part's putting it on the market.
Yeah. All that stuff's already there are people lining up to work those parts of the job with you. There are a million real estate agents in California almost, and every single one of them would love to list your property when you're done with it. So, as far as contractors, I'm sure you guys are having some difficulty too, because there's a lot of work going on in construction right now. Right. So it's tough right now to find a lot of, if you're taking on more volume, to have more contractors.
Luckily, we're good. We definitely in the first year and a half, we had some growing pains as far as finding contractors we can rely upon that weren't doing shoddy work. I think in the last couple of years, we've put a pretty good team together. We have a couple different ones that we can use that we know are reliable. They're not. We just know the job will get done. Yeah. They don't need to be babysat. They have pride in the work they do. So
that's important.
Very important. It just makes things much easier. Overall, so it just makes things fly. But the way we look at it is we make our money when we buy, not when we sell. Yeah. At the end of the day. So it's whatever number we buy it at. That's in essence it. Everything else is just the process.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about the RIA again. I want to go back to it because we have a club, and I want to mention it. It's a shameless plug. We always have to talk about our club. It's a great club. And you've been to our club, right? Yeah, the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. We do that here in Riverside. We have our main meeting the fourth Wednesday of every month. We're actually changing it up. We've been going to the Mission Inn all these years. We've been doing it there, but we've outgrown the Mission Inn. We've gotten too big for them. Wow. And as much as we appreciate them and love the Mission Inn, we had to find a new venue. So we found another venue in downtown Riverside. It's a really cool spot called Loft 84. So cool. So this month in August, we're going to be doing our first meeting there this month. So it's always the fourth Wednesday. It's the big meeting. That'll be August. I can't even think of what the day is. I should have wrote this down. We also, if you go up on meetup.com, which is where you can find pretty much every RIA you could think of, Real Estate Investment Club. You can find us on there. We're the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club, and we also do 3 other meetings. We do a happy hour every month, which in August this month we did a karaoke event, which I'm sure was a lot of fun.
Wish I didn't miss that.
Oh yeah, I know. We may do it again. We'll see.
Please.
Otherwise, we do a happy hour thing. We usually go out on a Friday night. It's usually the second Friday. We go out and do go to some kind of bars, mostly for networking, just hanging out, get to know people. We don't go make a presentation. I think a lot of people come. I've actually had people come to the happy hour with like a notebook and a pen, and I'm like, it's not that kind of a meeting. It's just networking. Bring your business cards, and just hang out. And then we also do a Saturday morning coffee thing. Same thing, just networking. We do that on the Saturday right before the 4th Wednesday. Might be a little confusing. That's why you go to meetup.com and look at it. And we also do a cash flow game, which is Robert Kiyosaki created a board game for real estate investing. Have you ever played Cash Flow?
No, I never have.
So it's a board game, and you basically use creative financing strategies, and you play this game with other people around the table, and the goal is to get out of the rat race. You start off as, I think I've started as like a teacher before. I started as an airline pilot. That was actually terrible. Because when you start as an airline pilot, you might make more money, but you don't. You have a lot more bills and a lot more obligations and stuff. So you're spending more money. You don't have as much disposable income. Surprisingly, the teacher actually I won playing that one one time. But so it's a fun board game. We do that on the first Wednesday of every month. So the next one will be coming up in September, and that's at the Bar and Grill Company in Yucaipa. We do it out there. One of our club members owns the bar, so she hosts it out there. And it's a lot of fun. We usually get a good number of people showing up, 30 people or so, and it's mostly about networking, playing games, having fun. It's you get to learn a little about real estate. It's kind of like a real estate seminar disguised as a board game. So
that's cool.
Yeah, and Robert Kiyosaki. Did you ever read any of his books, like Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I don't know anybody who hasn't.
Yeah,
I think everybody I know who's ever been started in this business had to start with reading that book. I think it's like a prerequisite.
Yeah, I think so too. I actually had somebody yesterday ask me for a book recommendation, and I'm like, "Have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad?" Like, let's just start with that one first.
Right.
If you haven't read it, read it, and then read Building Wealth One House at a Time by John Schaub.
And
if you haven't, and then once you've done reading that one, maybe we can get you to read like Richest Man in Babylon, or
all the other
Think and Grow Rich. I mean, there's so many other books, but the foundation.
Rich Dad Poor Dad is the foundation, of everything real estate investing.
Yeah, and you're on BiggerPockets.com.
Yes.
So BiggerPockets is like an online forum, which is huge for real estate investors. I sort of got on there when they first got started, and it was just forums, really. There wasn't a whole lot else going on there.
And I think when I first they started getting, they were just starting to do some of the other things that they were doing. The podcasts were kind of new at that time when I was first listening to them. But BiggerPockets has been a huge resource.
And that's been great because, like you mentioned, the podcasts, they got tons of information. It's free.
And of every kind of type of investing you can think of.
Yeah, and all over the country.
All over the country.
One day maybe we could have that kind of following. That would be great. But
in due time.
In due time. So we have talked a little bit about the clubs. That's good. But you go to other clubs too.
Yeah.
You're in Yorba Linda, so I'm sure you go out to like the Orange County Club.
Yeah, we've been to the Invest Club for Women.
Iris Club.
Yeah, great club. Obviously the OC RIA.
Yep. Karin.
Yep. That's another great club. I try to go to, like I mentioned earlier, I follow Bruce Norris a lot. Anywhere he speaks, I try to go. We're going to go to the I Survive Real Estate that we usually go annually.
Yep. That's coming up right here in September. Yeah, we're going to be going to that too.
Yeah, which is not even a half mile from my house in Yorba Linda. So it's great. That's a lot of information there. So I try to, whenever I can, to try to attend these as much as possible, just to kind of keep the blade sharp. What's going on and kind of where the trends are going, and maybe if there's other opportunities that fall somewhere else.
And they do. Yeah,
all the time.
I know a lot of people are constantly deciding what to do because the market's constantly moving, and as the market's going up here, some people are starting to think, what should I start doing next?
Right.
What's the next thing that I'm going to do? Because flipping might be great, but at some point the market's going to cap out.
Correct.
That's what happens in California.
Right.
It's one of the nice things about California. I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but the nice thing about California is we have these wild swings up and down. So
it creates a lot of opportunity.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, whether you like I said, I sometimes trying to wait for the plateau because that's sometimes where there's more opportunity.
Right.
If you have an established business and you already have the ground game laid out, It's a lot easier versus those who are just trying to get in at that time.
Absolutely.
You know?
So, but when it does, let's say it does cap out and we come into a declining market. Have you thought at all about what your strategy is going to change to? Or are you going to stick with the same thing or what?
You know, I have. I've looked into getting more into commercial, pretty much doing the flipping thing. I have a few other investors I know very well that do more in the commercial space. Kind of the same thing, but for commercial, industrial properties. Obviously, the volume as far as number of properties is significantly less, but the overall profit is significantly higher.
Yeah, probably a similar dollar amount, just, you know, one building rather than 10.
Right. You know, and eventually, you know, maybe, you know, get more into holding. Obviously, I'm going to plan on holding some of these down the road, especially as I get into the larger, like 10 plus unit apartment buildings, things like that. Obviously, my market's not quite there right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the route I'm going to kind of steer to go for, rather than trying to aim to do 100 flips a year. You know, rather use it to kind of go for the bigger chunks.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's a different market. The commercial market operates separately from the residential market. So, you know, it's very possible that the commercial market may be facing a crash here really soon.
Correct.
Because, I mean, if you're okay with making a 3% return on your money, you can go buy some commercial property in LA and Orange County right now, or San Diego.
Right.
But if you want to get like that nice 8 to 10 cap, like a lot of people are getting, you know, you have to wait a little bit because the market's probably peaking out over there on the commercial side.
Right, and just even finding rundown, you know, commercial complexes, things like that, and you know, taking out bad tenants and completely rehabbing the entire grounds and the entire building, and then putting in really good, strong tenants on higher leases. You know, things
and
like
that's the big value add play in commercial. Right. You know, and it's a great thing. I guess what I love about commercial is that it's based upon the numbers.
Right.
It's not based upon emotions
at all. Right, correct.
You know, like that's the hard thing with residential. And do you guys ever get into the high end in residential?
We've tinkered a little bit over $1 million, not into the significant high end, the $2 million plus.
Yeah,
but right in the low millions. Yeah, we have.
You're not doing the Hollywood Hills property that overlooks the entire valley.
Yeah, that market right now. Yeah, I don't know if it's quite sustainable. You know, I get concerned with buying a property, you're going to end up keeping it for a year and a half. You figure just with the whole rehab process and selling. So, you know, who knows what's going to happen in that time.
I think what we've kind of figured out is that when you go into that market, you have to find the right buyer that has the right amount of money available, that's looking in that area, that, you know, and then you have to also match the design that they're looking for.
And that's the big thing, is the design,
And you can't cheap out. You cannot cut corners.
Not at all.
When you're in that high end market, you have to put in, if Carrera Carrera marble is what they're calling for, you better put real Carrera marble in that house.
And not the cheap budget one that was on sale in the back corner. I mean, it's got to be the one that's front and center, that's on the display.
Yeah, in Italy. You know?
In Italy, right, exactly.
You couldn't have got it here.
And it has to be from Italy, because if it came from anywhere else, then that value just literally plummeted.
Yeah, it looks exactly the same.
It doesn't.
For all intents and purposes, it is the same thing. But if it wasn't bought in Italy from the guy, you know?
Right. and that's what people look for in those higher end markets. I mean, they look for, you know, and to have that kind of a system put together to handle that, it's a whole different ballgame to get into that market.
Yeah, I think the people that play in that market are a lot of times a lot like the people that play in the commercial market. It's like they do that, and they have one, maybe two of these projects going at once.
Right.
And, you know, those are significant amounts of money they're putting into these things, and they know what they're doing. They spend their time and money on design.
They know their buyer inside and outside. They already know not maybe the physical person, but they know what that buyer wants. They know exactly who is that buyer going to be for that house and what taste they like, and they gear towards that in that certain area.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, so we tend to, and it sounds like you do too, where you tend to work more towards the traditional home buyer, family oriented, you know, something like that. So you want the home that works properly, has enough bedrooms for the kids, that sort of a thing.
Yeah, traditional, you know, entry level to mid level single family homes. We've dabbled in a few condos here and there, but mostly the single family. And even then, you know, there's I'm not going to say a science, but there, you know, what we do in certain areas of Long Beach is going to be different than what we do in, we were saying earlier, Desert Hot Springs.
Oh yeah,
you know, it's going to be a different project, or what we do in the high desert versus what we do in Costa Mesa. You know, we learned that if you do a $500,000 condo in Costa Mesa, you got to step your game up. You can't do El Cheapo that you would do somewhere else in another part of the California here. But yeah, you just got to spend the money and do it, and people expect a certain thing to get that top dollar.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some things for new people getting in, because a lot of people that listen are new people. They're learning the new stuff. I'm sure you've learned some tips and tricks along the way, and everybody wants, they want the magic spell. They want it all. They want it to work immediately. So in looking to, if you were to do some things differently to speed up your development into a real estate investor, what are some things you would have changed in the very, very beginning?
Oh man, I probably would have followed, and this might be kind of counter what we were saying, I probably would have followed my intuition a little bit more.
Okay.
Like I said, I was doing a lot of direct mail for a long period of time, and I thought that was the end all be all. Everybody,
it's talked about a lot. It's marketed a lot.
That's all you ever hear about. Direct mail. Go out there and just mail. Who cares? Just mail it out.
Yeah.
And that ends
it's so old school. Like when you think about it, using your intuition, you're like, I don't even want to get mail. Right. Why would I want to send mail to somebody else?
Right. Right. And I mean, how many times do I sit there and look at mail? I just look at what's in the top corner and throw it away if it doesn't, Yeah. So, then you try to overthink it. Okay, maybe do I need to do a more clever mail piece? So I need to give something a zip letter, or, we got the yellow letters that are out, and all these other fancy letters to try to just get open, but then you're just getting worse calls.
Right.
So now you got to spend more money on people to answer those phone calls. Right. We're not getting any more deals out of it. So if I would have followed my intuition, I knew things were going the online way, things like that. And I think I tried to find myself to try to analyze what was working for direct mail and how could I tweak it, and it just ended up failing. And I think instead of growing as much as I wanted to do 2 years ago, I found myself just kind of trying to stay afloat and still trying to figure out something that I never figured out.
Yeah.
Where I think if I just focused on what I believed in, which was get this website up, get some good content. I got, good videos on our website. We got video testimonials from sellers. We got, tons of stuff. We're Better Business Bureau accredited.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we're the whole nine. I mean, and if I would have done this 2 years ago, would have been when we got the website started, but if I had done a lot of the stuff that was set up 2 years ago, would have been a different story.
So there's a lot of people that kind of got their start completely on their own, where it was just them, and they were alone doing it. It sounds like you have some support with your wife too. She helps out in the business. So.
She does, yeah. And then we have a couple people that we've hired, but for the most part, everything is still run, everything kind of in-house.
Yeah, and you guys have more or less set up all the systems so that you can maximize your return on time.
Yeah, and I always believe in the, bring somebody else to help alleviate some of the work off of my plate. That's the only way you're going to grow. I've never been the type to go out there and let me do it so I can save this and that. When we started buying properties, I had my purchasing manager. That was the guy who went out there, and he's a stud. The guy knows what he's doing. Wow. And we have purchasing agents that we have now that we're going to start. We hired one. We're going to start bringing more on that are actually canvassing. So to kind of go through another route of acquisition rather than just the website.
Yeah.
So there's a million different ways we're trying to go. Plus we have the SEO gal who's our search engine optimization, who handles a lot of the pay-per-click and a lot of our website back end work. So we have a lot of those people put in place that handle it, out of our office, and everything goes great, and my wife who just listed.
Yeah, so that's good
though. Easy. Yeah, totally great.
Yeah, so then you guys are keeping the commission in-house. It's kind of, it's one thing that we don't do. We don't actually list our own properties.
Right.
It's something we've talked about. We've kicked around the idea so much, but I think we've built the agent relationships so well because usually who we're buying it from is going to end up selling it for us.
Right, and we're the same way. If we end up getting something from an agent where we have in the past, just turn on, just give right back to them. Yeah. Regular commission, nothing.
Yeah, nothing fancy,
Nah, some people do. We'll give it to you for 1% listing. I'm like, no, man, pay them at least 2.5%. That's the going out there.
It's funny because like most people I talk to, they got started in the business. They had this sort of mind mentality.
Yeah.
And like in the beginning, they wanted all of it for themselves. So they wanted to list it themselves. They wanted to do all the construction themselves. Right. They wanted to do every single thing themselves. But what they don't realize is how that cuts them down on their time. They can't focus on the next deal.
Right.
Because if you want to be successful, you got to focus. Like once you buy one, you're like, that's great, but I'm already on to the next 3 that I have lined up in my pipeline now.
Right. And I always try to kind of say that, I'm not really running a real estate investment company. I'm running more of a marketing company. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, is is my goal is to, how can we buy more? How can we get the leads to increase? Everything else will just come. You can get somebody in there to take care of all that. I can get a project manager to come in and oversee the contractors, which I've kind of let my general contractors kind of double as a project manager. I want them to oversee it, and send the bill, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because I want to focus on finding the next one. That's where, where the growth comes. And then eventually, you're going to put that off on somebody. You're going to try to look as you're trying to do other things. So it's just, but yeah, some people get stuck. They want to pound the hammer. They want to, I want to list it myself. It's very common that you see out there with people who want to do just a couple flips a year.
Yeah. They see money walking out the door because they're listing it with an agent, or, they have to pay for escrow and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, you kind of have to do some of those things.
Right. Oh, I want to save on the notary. So I'm just going to go to UPS store and do it rather than go to escrow.
Yeah.
Or something like ridiculous like that.
Same thing with even lenders. I mean, like people try to nickel and dime their lenders down. Yeah. And the lenders are taking on all the risk usually, So it's like they want to nickel and dime their lenders down and try to get them to borrow at the cheapest rate, try to get no points and all that stuff. Right. And it's like, you'll get there eventually, but it takes some time. And you got to prove to yourself that you have a track record, you're a good, solid borrower. It's not something you're going to get a terrible rate your first time out. I'm sure the first one you did was not a great rate.
Brutal. I mean, you're paying, I think we're almost 3 points at the time. Yeah. We're paying 13% interest on it because there's a risk inherent in the day. Now it's a different story. Now once the ball's in your court, you have a very strong track record to show it, a very lengthy one.
Then you get people knocking your door down, looking to borrow, do all kinds of stuff.
Which is funny how that works, how that shifts immediately, and then that's only been the last couple of years. That's been great.
Yeah, and the RIAs are good because I'm sure you've met a lot of people at the RIAs and stuff like that, just like we have. I mean, they come to our meeting, they come to other meetings, we go to them, and it's been great. So
yeah, the RIAs have been great, just big time in that aspect. Like I said, just going there, talking to a lot of lenders that are there, talking to a lot of other types of investors. I mean, all different types of vendors that are there, and not just just conversing with them and seeing what's available, and going on Bigger Pockets and contributing to those forums and things like that, and talking to other people, seeing what other people have to say. I mean, there's a wealth of knowledge just on that itself.
Yeah. So we're running a little low on time, so I'm going to mention one last time, the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. If you're interested in coming out and talking to some other real estate investors, becoming a real estate investor, anything like that, come check out the Inland Empire Real Estate Investment Club. You can go on meetup.com and pull up that information and find out more. But that's about all the time we have for today. So I want to thank Alex Begenaro for coming out.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
Really appreciate you coming out. And we'll look forward to having you again, and I look forward to having everybody else tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. right here on KCAA. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, man.
All right.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
A 2% slide. Everything was lower, but retail chains really got slammed. Macy's shares down 10%, Penny's down 9%, all on worries about declining sales. After the bell, though, Nordstrom reported although profits fell 6% last quarter, sales actually increased. Shares are higher in late trading. Amazon may be taking aim at Ticketmaster. It's talking with arena owners about selling concert tickets and sporting event tickets online. Facebook is taking on Google's YouTube, launching a new section on its site offering live and recorded videos. And Airbnb now says it has over 4 million listings, bragging it has more rooms than the top 5 hotel chains combined. CNBC.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a